Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel, Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm going to be doing an unhaul. Now this year I don't think I've officially posted an unhaul at all, which is annoying because I actually did an unhaul. I think it was March. I filmed it, I edited it, it was rendered, all ready to go. I just literally didn't have the energy or the mental capacity to upload it, which is depressing. I've said in the past that I struggle with unhauling books, and that definitely is very true. Quite a few reasons behind it. I also really struggle with unhauling books for my TBR. If I haven't read the book and I'm getting rid of it, I feel so guilty. I guess you can say I kind of had a come to Jesus moment, or whatever you want to call it, when I realized the sheer amount of books I had on my TBR. I own approximately, without counting duplicates, 580-ish books. I don't know the exact count, but I literally spent a day cataloging all my books in an Excel file, and the amount of books that I have read versus unread is a little upsetting to me. It's going to be one of my biggest goals in 2020 to reduce my TBR, A, by not buying as many books, and B, by actually focusing on the books I have on my shelves as opposed to reading books from the library and stuff, actually reading the books I have here. And so I decided to take a really good hard look on my TBR books and I decided to cull quite a few. This is sort of unprecedented territory, waters, whatever you want to call it for me. It's really weird, but also I think a little liberating. I just don't want to feel guilty about not reading these books. I know I've spent money on them, and that kind of sucks, but what are you gonna do? It's time to get rid of them. That's probably the longest intro I've ever filmed in my entire life, and I apologize. A couple of these books I actually do still kind of want to read, have plans to read them. I just don't necessarily want them on my shelf right now. I won't be getting to them within the next few years. Some are sequels and I don't own the first book. I'm pretty sure I can get every single one of these books at my library, so if I'm suddenly struck by the urge to read them, I will. So I can let them go and be at peace. This shouldn't be that stressful, but it is slightly. Anyway, the first book I'm getting rid of is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is a book I genuinely do want to read, but it's mass market. It's kind of old and the text is really small. Also in the same vein, I'm getting rid of The Iliad by Homer. I don't know what I was thinking, 9th grade me purchasing this book. I only purchased it for really cheap, so that doesn't matter so much, but in what world did I think I was going to read this, especially when I was 14 years old? Do I still have interest in reading this? Yes. I have tried reading it and I found the writing to be really odd and just the translation not so great. This is also a translation that has lasted over 100 years or whatever, so if I ever do plan on reading this, I will pick up one with a newer translation. The next series of books that I'm getting rid of, I don't know what I was thinking when I purchased them. 3 of them I got them from Book Outlet. 1 I found used because I just really like these editions, but I know nothing about the books, so it's time to go. The first one is Arthur and George by Julian Barnes, and Tyler's Digging to America, and Michael's The Winter Vault, and Such a Long Journey by Robinson Mystery. I love these editions. They are the vintage Anchor Emblem Canada editions. I love this. If you know anything about me, I love a colorful page. I think these are so stunningly done, but I know nothing about these books. And when I did look up the synopsis, they sounded so boring. I'm pretty sure all of them are historical fiction, and I hate historical fiction. Hate is a strong word. I don't hate it. Just don't love it. It's not for me. So although it's sad, I am relieved to be getting just 4 books gone. Hopping on to the historical fiction train, I'm also going to get rid of The Muse by Jessie Burton. Her books are actually pretty well loved, and I'm a little sad because this cover is nice, but I'm really discovering I don't like historical fiction, and if I do, there has to be another element to it. I love historical fantasy, and I love weird non-historical historical books like My Lady Jane, but pure straight historical fiction does the opposite of entertain me. So I'll also get rid of The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton as well. I think these books are probably great. They're just really not meant for me. Also going to get rid of Frog Music by Emma Donoghue. I picked up when I thought I was going to absolutely love Emma Donoghue's books. I have only read one of hers, but it didn't really do anything for me. So I don't know what this is about. If I can look at a book and not tell you anything that it's about, and I have no interest or feeling to read it, I don't know why I'm keeping it. Goodbye to frog music. Holy shit, I just realized there's a lot of historical fiction that I'm getting rid of. I'm also going to get rid of A Reunion of Ghosts by Judith Clare Mitchell. I picked this up for a couple reasons. It's compared a lot to The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, but I think that's kind of a misnomer. It takes place, I think there's 2 orphans and there's a circus, but like it's not at all like The Night Circus. I think this is supposed to be an incredibly triggering and upsetting book, and I picked it up also because it's a Canadian author, but every time I look at it I just feel nothing. I'm also going to get rid of Rose Under Fire by Elizabeth Wein. This is the sequel, codenamed Verity Duology. Very highly popular historical fiction duology, but again, I don't love historical fiction, and I don't even own the first one. This actually is a series I may pick up in the future if I'm really struck to do so, but I'm going to get it from my library. I don't really need this on my shelves. Another unnecessary sequel is Blake Crouch's Pines? Wayward. This is the sequel to his like Wayward Pines trilogy. It's supposed to be thrilling. It's supposed to be really, really great. And I do want to read it. I just don't have the first book, and I don't need this just floating around making me feel guilty. Also, I bought this used, and I didn't notice that this whole thing was torn. So looking at all these books, I think every single one of them I purchased used, which I think not one of these is a book that I paid full price for. So I think I need to be a little bit more cautious when purchasing books, especially when at a Value Village and it's buy 4 get 1 free. In the past, I definitely know that I've picked up books that I didn't need. I just recognized it and needed a 5th book to fill that quota, so I need to keep that into consideration, I think. I'm also going to get rid of The Circle Game by Margaret Atwood. This is a poetry collection. I literally paid 25 cents for it. I don't want it. I will also be getting rid of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is the one book that I'm still keeping on my shelves. I just found a different, prettier edition. I'm actually kind of sad to get rid of this edition too, though, because it's really cool. It has a do-it-yourself cover with stickers, so I think someone else will have a lot of fun with it. Oh, I just realized this Unhaul makes it look like I hate Margaret Atwood. I don't hate Margaret Atwood. I just have books on here that I'm not really interested in reading. This is The Tent by her. I think this is a series of told either in vignettes or like really, really short fiction, like 1 to 2 pages each, and I just don't have any interest in that. And I'll also be getting rid of The Year of the Flood by Margaret Atwood. This is the sequel to the Oryx and Crake trilogy, which I am interested in reading. It's one of her most popular series. I just don't have the first book. How have I done this so many times where I have the sequel but not the first? I didn't think it was that frequent, but apparently it is. I didn't even realize that was supposed to be a person until now, or like a snake thing. Awful. I'll also be getting rid of Captain America, Red, White, and Blue by, there's no title on this. I know, I definitely remember when I bought this, because I bought it used and I couldn't find a 5th book to like find one free. I have basically zero interest in reading Marvel volumes because I have no idea where to start. I think this is just a celebration of Captain America, who honestly as a character I find kind of boring. I'll also be getting rid of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. I picked this up because it is an Indigo collectible and I found it at a used bookstore. I don't particularly want to read this, and I don't particularly actually think that this edition is the nicest. I don't love these Indigo collectibles, so I'm not going to hold on to it any longer. I have way too many classics I need to read, and this is just not on that list. I'll also be getting rid of The Lotteries Plus One by Emma Donoghue. This is Emma Donoghue's middle grade series. It's the first book, which is good, but I think this follows like an adoptee or something like that. I enjoy certain middle grade stories, but I'm really only interested in fantasy middle grade or queer middle grade. So this doesn't really hit that. I think a kid could really enjoy this, so I really don't need to hold on to it. Oh, back to the historical fiction, The Orenda by Joseph Boyden. I picked this up because I thought this was Own Voices, Indigenous fiction, and then I discovered that there's a weird controversy with Joseph Boyden and that he claims First Nations heritage, but it's maybe not actually true, and this book sounds boring as sin, so I don't need to hold on to it. Holy shit, does it sound boring. But again, historical fiction just doesn't thrill me. I am also going to be passing along Pivot Point by Casey West. This one actually kind of sounds interesting to me. It's about this girl who can see into the future and has this big decision, and she actually ends up like living out in her head what both options will bring her. This kind of sounds interesting. I don't know. It's not a book that I'm particularly interested in reading right now. It's a little beat up. I don't need it. I also will be getting rid of The Takedown by Corey Wang. This book also seems kind of interesting. It follows a topic I don't think I've ever seen addressed in young adult fiction, and that is revenge porn. Even though in this scenario it's not real, it's like fabricated, and the main character's life is being destroyed because there's like a fake sex tape that is released between her and her teacher, and so she goes on like this revenge quest. I don't know. It's not really doing it for me right now, so I'm going to pass it on. I think somebody else could really enjoy it. The next book I'll be getting rid of is the only new book on this list, and it's The Music Shop by Rachel Joyce. I won this in a Goodreads giveaway like years ago, back when authors didn't have to pay to host giveaways. And it initially sounded cool to me, but then I realized it's basically kind of a boring love story. I think somebody else could get a lot of enjoyment out of this story, someone who really, really values it, and this also happens to be signed, so I think this could be a very valuable addition for someone else. I also am going to get rid of The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Chima. This is the one book I'm skeptical on. This is the one book I have really been going back and forth on. Readers love this series. If people have read this, they really, really highly recommend it. So I do have a lot of interest in this, but this copy is actually kind of gross. I didn't notice it when I first bought it, but the bottom's beat up and kind of nasty. So I do think I'll give these books a try in the future. I just don't need to be starting a ton more series that I'm not super invested in right now. I want to focus on completing series, not starting new ones. The last book in this stack is The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. I picked this up used because at the time I was planning on going to her signing. She was coming to my town, which I thought was super, super weird, but I was excited to go, and then I got a job. I had gotten my new job that week and I could not go at the time of the signing. I'm actually kind of glad. I would have liked to have my Raven Boys signed, but I'm glad this isn't signed and personalized to me because I don't particularly want to read it. I know it's a standalone fantasy, follows a race of some kind, but it's not actually that thrilling to me. So that is it for all the books I plan on getting rid of this go around. It's really weird getting rid of books that I have not read yet, but it's also kind of liberating. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!